Hey everybody, I'm Jacob, and today I wanted to make a video on a made-for-TV movie called Can You Hear the Laughter? It premiered in 1979 from CBS, and this is the true story of Freddie Prinze Sr. So Freddie Prinze Sr., you probably know who he is, but sum it up if you don't, if you're just watching this because you like me, I appreciate that. Freddie Prinze Sr., he was born and, well, he was 23 years old when he committed suicide, and he was starred in a TV show for a couple of years called Chico and the Man. He dropped out of high school his senior year to become a famous comedian. He struggled for less than 2 years, and then he got this gigantic show, Chico and the Man. He played the star Chico and co-starred it with Jack Albertson. He's the grandpa in Willy Wonka, the original. And he just got too famous too quick, and he became partied hard, and he committed suicide 1976, like I said, at the age of 23, and he left a note and he called a whole bunch of people that night saying goodbye. And but in 1983, a civil case was brought up by his mother, his wife, and his son, who was only 4 years old, Freddie Prinze Jr. I don't know how he filed for the case, but technically he's for a life insurance company. They settled the lawsuit because he was taking so much drugs. They said to rule this as a accidental death because he was so out of his mind on drugs, which I think is a fair point. So they ended up getting $200,000 in life insurance, and then they sued his psychiatrist and doctor and a malpractice suit for allowing him to have access to a gun and over-prescribing him with Quaaludes. That's what he was addicted to. If you guys know Quaaludes, they were like anti-anxiety pills, but when you took more than a couple and you stood awake, like they showed in The Wolf of Wall Street, they stopped making them in the early 80s or like mid 80s because people were just over fucking killing themselves over them. So it's a really tragic story. I first got into Freddie Prinze Sr. I mean, I've known his son forever because he was in She's All That and Scooby-Doo and I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I first got into Freddie Prinze Sr. less than 10 years ago when I was addicted to pills and I was spiraling out of control, and I heard his story, and I'd always known about Chico and the Man. I'd heard references. I knew it was a show in the TV show in the 70s, but then I found out his story and I was like, got kind of obsessed. Like, you know me, I get really obsessed with like really dark, traumatic stuff, and like I felt a kind of a kinship because I was so suicidal and I was addicted to pills, and I got off pills. I'm a couple years sober, and I'm not suicidal anymore, but at the time I really was. And I loved his comedy, and there's just something about it that was just, I'm obsessed with tragedies. I don't know why, I just am. But and I really like his comedy. He was a really good stand-up comedian, but he was it's weird listening to those 70s stand-up comedians. He has a lot of race jokes, but nothing's really too crazy. Like Richard Pryor is the one who came out and kind of broke the mold of like being really edgy and really dark, and Richard Pryor discovered him, and they were good friends. They don't show that in this movie. There's a good amount of stuff that I know about him that isn't in this movie. But, like I said, I don't know if I said it, his life is really mysterious. He was only active in the entertainment world for like 3 years, 73 to 76. But he did a lot that within those 2 years he was working on Chico and the Man 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday and Sunday he was going to Vegas to play shows. And he was a millionaire, and as fast as the money came in, he's spending it. They show him as really likable in the beginning before the fame and the drugs took over, but even in the beginning, he's no angel. He's constantly cheating on every one of his girlfriends. He's just, and I was kind of surprised at how much drugs. They show him a little bit with cocaine, mostly with pills, but they do show him doing drugs in this, and they show him getting like just angrier and meaner and more disrespectful to everybody and pushing everybody away and just kind of embarrassing himself with all the drugs. The guy who plays him is Ira Augustine. Man, it is insane how much he looks like him. It looks like he's doing it looks just like him. It was perfect fucking casting. I know a little bit. How I know about Freddie Prinze Sr., there used to be this documentary called, or like TV videos called The Dark Side of Comedy, or The Tragic Side of Comedy. And they had like 10-minute specials on like really tragic comedians. And they really focus on like the tragedy and their depression and the dark stuff and their drugs. Is like Chris Farley and Sam Kinison. I love those, but you can't find that online anymore. I watched it years ago, and you can't find it online. It's blocked now. I was gonna make. Speaking of Blocked, I was gonna make this video on two movies. This one and the unauthorized Mork and Mindy story, which shows Robin Williams during the Mork and Mindy years, and those were his crazy years. His first show, he exploded just like Freddie Prinze Sr. He got this show, and was just doing cocaine all the time and fucking every girl that he could get his hands on, which was a lot. And I watched that movie a couple months ago, and I was gonna make a video on both of them, but the Robin Williams movie, Mork and Mindy, got blocked. So if you guys can ever watch that, I definitely recommend it. But I don't know how. But I'm gonna put a link to this movie at the bottom of this description, so you guys can click on it. If you want to watch this movie, the link is to the movie. The whole thing is on YouTube, and it's like really old footage. It's like, it looks like they recorded it off their VHS. I'm pretty sure they recorded off their VHS player. You could see commercials that were premiering in 1979. It's pretty crazy. And they even show some commercials for some other like made-for-TV movies, like ones with like Nick Nolte. It's pretty crazy. It was really interesting to watch. I liked the effect of it. This movie, it was I thought it was really well made. It was really well acted. The guy who played Freddie Prinze, yeah, he was likable. He wasn't an angel, but then you see him getting darker and darker and angrier and just fucking up his life and career and getting addicted to drugs. And I just love, like, when they go. I love like time portals like this, stuff that was actually filmed in the 70s, and especially when he's going to Vegas, seeing Vegas in the 70s legitimately filmed like this. And it's only 2-3 years after they must have jumped into this movie right after he died, because it takes at least a year and a half, most of the time 2 years, to make a legit movie with pre-production, post-production. And this came out 3 years after he died, so they jumped right into it. And this movie was not had no association with his wife or his ex-wife, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s mom, who divorces him in this movie, which for good reason. You know, he's embarrassing her, and like, she was scared. He was like falling asleep. Like, I've heard he was like falling asleep with cigars in his mouth, and there's a baby. Like, Freddie Prinze Jr. was less than 1 year old when his dad committed suicide. He didn't get to know him, and it's a really tragic thing. And you could see some stuff of Freddie Prinze Jr. talking about his dad, and like he finally like got people who knew him, like his manager, to like tell his stories. And like, he was no angel, man. He spent those 3 years in Hollywood just getting as fucked up as he can and having sex with so many girls. And you know, this film is pretty edgy for a made-for-TV 1979 movie. Can't imagine his family watching this when it came out. Maybe even, I wouldn't be surprised if they've never watched it. And I understand, you know, I think it's an important story, and I'm really obsessed with it. I've always wanted a movie about him, and I was like, I found it the other night. I watched it like at 4 a.m. I had work at like 6, or I watched it like at 3 a.m. I just did a full all-nighter. I was just like, what? They have a movie about Freddie Prinze Sr.? I'm gonna watch this right now. It's on YouTube. Like I said, I'll put the link. So there's this quote that I heard Bob Saget say about Chris Farley. He said, "Fame doesn't always create the best version of yourself," and I think that's what happened with Freddie Prinze. He was just so young. He was pretty much a baby. He was 20 years old, getting paid millions of dollars, and he's doing all these drugs. And you know, he was always talking about his depression, and people were just like, "What the fuck are you depressed about, dude? You have everything." And he was just, I don't know. And I know his wife leaving him was a big thing about it. He actually killed himself on his wife's birthday, which is, you know. So yeah, this is a unique and interesting, but and so tragic. It's so goddamn tragic. It's a story in life, and but it's, like I said, it's unique. But there's a lot of things that a lot of people that have similar kind of life, you know, like people I'm all obsessed with, like John Belushi or Brad Renfro or Corey Haim, Edward Furlong. Even though Edward Furlong survived, he's doing good. He's sober now. But I mean, there's so many other people, you know, like so many people that just get fame way too quick and just burn out, and it's really sad. And it's, I don't know, I think I'm obsessed, one, because I used to be a drug addict, two, I used to be depressed, but also just like someone's always wanted to be famous their life. When I heard his story, I was like, that's fucking, it's tragic, but goddamn, what a way to go out. And that was like some sick way. I wanted to like live like that, like just spend a couple years being as incredibly famous, incredibly rich, and just spiral down out of control on drugs, which I did, and had to get sober. But like living at that insane drug addict level, just like where the abnormal becomes the normal, but with millions of dollars in Hollywood and all the respect and fame from people. There's something insane about it, and like I hate to say it, it's still appealing, like, but you can only do it for so many years. If I mean, fuck, dude, he's only around for 3 years. It's really sad, but this is a story that I've been wanting to hear and see on a movie for a long time, and then I got to see it. I was like, oh my god, they made one in 1979. How have I not seen this? Yeah, I wanted to talk about this movie. If you guys haven't seen this movie, like I said, I'm gonna put the video link in my description, and I'll also put the link to my Patreon page if you want to support me. I'll review any movie you want. And you guys should watch Chico and the Man. I like Chico and the Man too. I don't know. So I like those 70s series. I'm obsessed with the 70s and stars in the 70s. I'm just obsessed with this stuff. This movie and his story just was like, I feel like it was like tailor made for me to be obsessed over. And yeah, it's a tragedy. But he kind of lives on through his son, Freddie Prinze Jr. And he went down a much better path, thank God. He sadly had to learn from his father. It must be a crazy thing. Like, it's hard to say. I feel bad for such a good looking movie star like Freddie Prinze Jr. But it's like, I've heard him talk about his childhood having to deal with this. It must have been really rough. So yeah, I think that's it. Just wanted to tell people I watched this movie. If you've watched this movie, let me know what you thought about it. And if you guys haven't seen it, yeah, check it out. It's really it's worth checking out. So I'm Jacob from Cinema Junkies. Thanks for watching. Keep watching. And you guys can follow me on Instagram at cinemajunkies_. Don't forget the underscore.